So, Albert, we're just over a week away from the European Box Lacrosse Championship in Hannover, Germany. How are you preparing personally?
Well, much like everyone else, I'm trying to get as much kind of sprints and interval training in as possible. I've been away for the last 3 weeks. I was at the Women World Championships and then went to the World Games. So I've been hot weather training, getting as much running done as possible in the build up. You kind of start to ease yourself a little bit this week because you don't want to risk any injuries. Obviously, we'll want to be in top condition, but don't want to kill yourself just before you go. So taking it a little bit easier this week.
And just in terms of your preparation with the team, you obviously had your last training session a couple of weeks ago. That was in Sheffield.
Yeah.
How do you continue preparing with the team while you can't actually be with them?
It's difficult. I mean, we try to motivate each other rather, by kind of posting when we're going out and doing our workouts and kind of keeping each other focused on that. In terms of actual just stick work and getting together, there's a lot of us in the south who are meeting every week to have some shooting sessions on one of our goalies. You know, keep up that way. I know that the boys in the north are doing that, but we'll use next week just before the tournament to kind of try to build more connections. We've done really well in our training sessions, but next week just before the tournament, where we've got some warm-up games and some training sessions, we'll use that to really dial back into each other and the way we play. But it's difficult, obviously, being a lot of us in the north and a lot of us in the south. You know, it's difficult to keep it up, but we'll try our best and use next week as the real kind of test to see how we do.
And you played in the last European Championship for England. That was in 2017, and we finished 5th.
Yep.
So how was that tournament for you, and what do you think England can learn from that tournament and bring it into this tournament?
So for me, that was probably one of my first experiences of box lacrosse, certainly at a high level. We didn't do as well as we should, which is frustrating, and I think we weren't quite prepared for what was going to come. We hadn't had many full games together, and you know, box lacrosse is relatively new to a lot of players in England, so we were an inexperienced team. So we did well, but we didn't do as well as we should. I think coming into this, what we've taken from that and from our performance in 2019, the World, is that a lot of our players now have played a lot of box and they're playing a lot of games. That's really what we've tried to push, is that a lot of our new players, certainly a lot of the players who come over from field, to just get more experience in box. And I think that what we're going to take from that Euro specifically is we can't take any game for granted, can't take anyone lightly. We lost games that we perhaps shouldn't have done or didn't want to, and as a result, the highest we could finish was 5th. But we're really pushing to go for a medal this time. Hopefully the gold one, but you know, it's not going to be easy, and we can't take any game for granted, as I said. And
I'm just wondering about, so earlier this year you took part in the U16s Cup. That was with the box squad.
Yeah.
And I'm just wondering how that sort of competition, playing opposition such as Czech Republic, how can that help and assist with the preparation for this tournament?
It's massive. I mean, the Czech Republic are going to be one of our competitors at this tournament. They're going to be up there right in the top 3, almost guaranteed. And I think for a lot of our players, it was quite a good experience to really play against a proper box team, because we've been to tournaments like the Alishabreski in April, but it's not full games. It's a bit more relaxed until the latter stages. You know, it's more of a tour than anything. And I think a lot of our players were it was a bit of a shock to the system playing a full game against the Czechs. And I think if you look at the result, I think we lost by 3 or 4 goals, and that was because in the first period we lost 4-0 or 4-1. As a lot of our players kind of suddenly went, hang on a minute, this is how you play box. This is not what we're used to. Because there's only so much you can get done in training sessions, right? So that was key, and it's kind of a bit of a light bulb moment for a lot of our players, certainly in attack and shooting on goalies who've got a lot more experience than our goalies, and our goalies are great, but they don't play anywhere near enough, so not used to the shots. So it's a different experience, and I think if we hadn't had that, it would have been a shame. We'd have liked to play Germany as well, but you know, can't have kind of everything rather. But it was huge, absolutely huge to play against the Czechs, and I think we matched up against them quite well, certainly in the second to fourth period. So it was a confidence booster as well as a wake-up call for some of our players, let's say.
And is that sort of competition something that have you had that, before the Europeans last time or before the Worlds? Have you had that sort of competition where you've played proper box teams before?
No, definitely not before the Euros. We just had our training sessions and we used Anna Shabesky as a kind of a warm up for a lot of our players. So you're kind of playing against that caliber of player, but it's not the same. It's certainly not as a squad. And I don't even think we did it before. Not that level. We played E-Box before the Worlds, which again was 2019, but that we played 3 games: Germany, Austria, and Israel. So we have had it before, but that wasn't. I don't think they were full-length games. A lot of our players were still quite new to the sport, and I think this one was more of a competition than that was, because they're just friendlies. So it was nice to play a competitive game against the Czechs.
Yeah. And just a little bit about your box background now. You kind of said that 2017, the Europeans might have been one of your first sort of proper England things in the box format. So how did you get into the format in the first place? Presumably you still play field, but that's when you started.
Yeah, so I started field when I was 18, 11 years ago now, but box only started in 2016. Just there was a tournament called the Frank Mentioner Memorial, which is again in Radotin in Prague, and the first ever version of that tournament was in 2016. And my friend, just from when I was playing at Hillcroft, he asked me if I wanted to play, so I went along and gave it a go. Didn't really know much about it, and it was a massive wake-up call, because I still thought I was an attacker back then, and it was pretty shocking, to say the truth. And then since then, I just go to every tournament I can. So there are 3 tournaments in Prague every year, which I would try to go to. There's Box Mania in Lille, which is another tournament which I'll try and go to as much as I can, just to get as much experience. I really got the bug for it, and although 2017 was my first England experience, from then I've done as much box as possible, and I absolutely love it.
So yeah, you're sort of a bit of a box veteran, I guess. There's obviously a few players that have been doing it a little bit longer than you, but how does it make you feel seeing the likes of Ming Trin, Dan Watson, those players they've sort of come over from the tennis side game? How does it make you feel to see them transitioning into the box game as well, just like you did?
It makes me hugely proud, to be honest. Obviously, I know some of those players just from being on the circuit and playing against them, and just as friends, and watching them develop as box players has been amazing. And I think that they're all really talented players, and it's only good for England field that they're playing box, because it'll help them as field players. But it's great for us to have that kind of caliber of player come across. And I fully believe that they're going to smash it. That they've been doing really well in training. Not just Ming and Dan Watson. It's Ben PL and Elliot Leonard and Dave Groves and stuff. All those players who hadn't really done much box come across and are really starting to understand the game and are taking it away and wanting to play it more. There's some others from up north who've created their own box team. They haven't actually done a box tournament yet, but the Disney Dynamos, it's amazing to see that these younger players are wanting to really progress in the sport. So it makes me proud, and it only helps me because we've got a strong team as a result.
Yeah. So moving on to the 2 pool games at the tournament at the Europeans, what's it going to be like coming up against Scotland and Ireland? The home nation teams. What's it going to be like?
I mean, like I said earlier, there's not going to be any easy games. I think that we've got the talent that we should win, or should be able to win both of those games. But as soon as we saw the draw, it was kind of inevitable that as soon as it was Scotland and us in the group, that Ireland were going to follow. I mean, we've played Ireland a number of times, and they're never easy games, and they're always a lot of fun, very, very physical. So I don't expect anything less. And I think that if we go into those games too arrogant or too cocky, then it could come back to bite us. But they're going to be a lot of fun. They're going to be very fast. They're going to be very physical. There'll be friends from both sides on for each team. So it's going to be a lot of fun to play.
And just finally, should just mention England head coach Walt Christiansen. He's vastly experienced in the box world as a player and a coach. What's it been like having him as a coach over the past few years?
It's been amazing. It's hard to not sing his praises enough, really. He has brought across so much knowledge that he's shared to not only the players but to our coaches, and as a result, it's going to grow the game. Andy Downing is taking up as much as he can from Walt, and as well as our other coaches, Matt and Bobby. You know, so that's only going to grow the game. But in terms of for us players, you see it when he's at training, and you see the way that people listen to what he's saying and take it in and applying his kind of style of play. But it's really when you see him managing a game during the tournament that you kind of really understand why we all love having him as a coach. He's always thinking 3 plays ahead, and he just trusts us to go and do our stuff on the floor. He doesn't worry about micromanaging or anything. He trusts his coaches, but he just, when he needs to, he'll step in and give us that bit of information that we need. And it's really like the first time, certainly for me, that I've had an elite level coach in lacrosse, and it's been amazing for us. And I think it's part of the reason that you've got the players that you mentioned, and the caliber of players you've got coming across, because they want to play for him, they want to learn from him. And I think we have, and I think you'll see when we go and play out there that the style we're playing is really been implemented that he wants us to do. And I think we're more of a cohesive team than we were back in 2017, which is as a result of having him around for the last 5 years. And hopefully he's got more years to come. I know he likes to do his fishing, so as long as it doesn't interrupt him on that, then I'm sure he'll stick around. But if not, he's kind of instilled a lot of good knowledge and practices in our coaches, domestic coaches. And when some of us older players start to retire from the England box, I'm sure we'll step in and help as well. So he's been amazing. I can't sing his praises enough.